All right. Our question for today is, what's it like being open 24 hours a day?
What is it like being open 24 hours a day?
Which I feel like there's a sub-question there of, are you madmen or geniuses?
Yeah, it's pretty much both.
I was
think like
I was just gonna take a second to say it's both, right? Like it's totally insane, and I love doing it as well.
Yeah, it's both my like favorite and least favorite thing about our float center. Like I love it. I love being open 24 hours a day. I love having people float in the middle of the night. I love interacting with customers in the middle of the night. I love people, like, it's like the perfect response to someone saying like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to have time to do that. You're like, well, you can come in at 2 a.m. and like, boom, they don't have any excuses anymore. And so there's so many great things about it.
We've been, to give a little background, we've been a 24-hour shop for 5.5 years now?
Yeah.
6 years?
6 years?
Yeah, coming on 6 years.
Yeah.
Like very shortly after we opened. We didn't open as 24 hours a day. We opened for 12 hours a day initially, and very quickly that went up to about 18 hours a day, and just kind of built from there. And I should say that right now we're actually only running floats for 22 hours a day. So we have 2 hours a day that we do cleaning from 5 to 7 a.m., which ended up, of all times, being the hardest ones to fill for us.
Yeah.
So 5 to 7 is cleaning time, but our door is never locked. So our shop is actually open 24 hours, despite only running floats for 22 hours of those. Sorry to let you listeners down who thought they were actually running floats all 24.
So yeah, it's a really nice thing to offer. And it also makes sense economically. Like, we have, people do come in and float, and like certainly 2 a.m. on a weekday night is not the most popular time in the world. In fact, I think it's the least popular time that we have. But we still get people coming in and floating. And even if it's just 1 or 2 people, that's enough to pay your employees to be there and to keep the lights on and to justify the cost of being open for that time. And your float tanks are already set up, and they're humming along, and they're hungry for floaters all the time. So being able to get as many people into float is also a really nice feeling when you're open 24 hours a day.
Right, and the economics actually work out surprisingly well. Like if that's all you were looking at is the numbers of, can you make money being open 24 hours a day, or are you going to lose money on staffing? That actually works out really well in favor of the float tank center, especially if you're willing to send people home if there's no one booked for, say, 2 a.m. Because it means that pretty much for one person, at least in our center, floating at 2 a.m. covers the cost of staffing. Which means if there's 2 people floating, we're actually making a little bit of money for being open then. And if there's no one floating, then the staff can just kind of leave and go home early. At our center, we do things a little bit different, but theoretically running that way, you're almost guaranteed to not lose money on an operation like that. Plus, if there are only 2 people floating or 1 person floating and you have, say, a 4 or 5 tank center, it means that you can start deep cleans on those other rooms way early. So even by the time the people are getting out of their floats, it's likely you still haven't lost any staff time just for the time it took to clean your other rooms and kind of get the rest of the shop closed down. And then you kind of do those final rooms as a last cleaning touch. So that's the monetary side is I think it definitely works out.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly, because those people who are booking at 2 a.m. might book at other times of the day if you didn't have those available. So you're kind of crunching your capacity down. So it's all a little loosey-goosey, and there's no way to be extremely concrete about it. But
are you saying the world's a confusing, complicated place that we can't ever fully grasp?
Apparently, things don't just nicely break down into yes or no answers. But that part, it's really it's not that hard to justify. Like having the float tanks open, the economics of it, even the part of it that's involves getting customers to float. That's all kind of the easy part of it. The difficult part is having people run your shop in the middle of the night. That's kind of
without destroying them.
Without destroying them.
Yeah, because plenty of people can run the shop in the middle of the night, but it takes its toll over time on those people.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of people who apply to work for us, even when we're specifically looking for night positions, who kind of swear up and down that they're night people. And usually what that means is they're used to staying up till 4 a.m, like playing video games or watching Netflix or something. And that ends up being kind of fundamentally different than actually working and having to clean a float room at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, it's I usually like to say that salt destroys everything from our walls to our floors to our favorite shoes to our night shift employees. It's incredibly destructive, and it is. Everything's a little bit harder at that time of night for people to do, and especially on that like when you do get sleepy, your body so much wants you to just go home and go to. I don't know if this is anything you can relate to, Ashkan, as I'm talking about this. Right, but like even the most mundane tasks are easier wanting to go home at 5 p.m. than they are easier wanting to go home when it's 5 a.m.
Yeah, and it's just hard to totally switch your sleep schedule around to really kind of accommodate it. So that's what we found. You know, we've definitely had a lot of people who have, after 6 months or so, just kind of had to tell us, you know, this is they weren't quite able to handle it the way that they thought they were going to, and kind of have to bow out. And it certainly has some of the highest kind of turnover of any of the shifts that we have. So I don't know if we have a perfect solution or have fully overcome that hurdle yet. We've been trying a lot of different things, but that certainly actually has been the more difficult part. You'd think getting people to come float at 2 in the morning would be the hard part of staying open in the middle of the night, and that part's actually not that hard. Like, people want to float in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and I actually started out as our first night shift employee, so have a really good idea firsthand of what that's like, kind of running the shop day in, day out on a nightly basis, because I'm, or at least used to be, largely kind of nocturnal. And it actually, you know, for the right person, I think it works out really well. I actually really enjoyed being in the shop late at night. The problem was that I had told myself that I would be able to do background work on Float On, and since it was nighttime and I wouldn't be having all these phone calls, I could really kind of crank on some background business stuff while I'm also facilitating floats. And boy, was I 100% wrong. Like, I have never been able to, night shift or not, work in the float center and not be drawn into only working on the float center stuff. Like, the idea that I could somehow get something else done external to running the float center then was horribly naive of me. So eventually had to kind of drop that off, which is a totally different story. But yeah, we've had one night shift employee now who's been incredibly stable for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think it also helps, you know, that her boyfriend is on a night shift schedule as well. Like, this fits into this overarching scheme of her life rather than some of our other staff.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it's just like with hiring anybody, a lot of it is just trying to find those right people. And I think it's just a bit of a bigger filter and a more difficult person to find, to have that right person who can work in the middle of the night. So that's mostly where the challenge comes from.
So if people are thinking about moving to night shifts, like let's say they right now close at like 10 p.m., what would they have to change about their operations to get to a 24-hour full-blown operation?
I mean, so we started just doing it on a few nights of the week. So we did Thursday and Friday night when we first started, and I'd probably recommend actually Friday and Saturday night as the two if you were to try it out right now. And the one thing that I did notice once we did that and as we opened up more nights of the week was that it took a while, like a month or something like that, for people to catch on to the fact that we were doing it. Like, for the first few weeks, like our schedule that we had opened up in those times were pretty empty. And then slowly but surely people would come in the float and be like, wait, you guys are open like 2 a.m. on Wednesday nights? And it just took a little bit of time for that to kind of work its way through people's awareness and for people to start booking those up. And then they did become a lot more like stable and kind of normally booked after that. But yeah, don't be too discouraged if you do it and it's not immediately taking off.
Or it's a good reminder for testing just about anything, right? If you're switching to a new membership structure, even, for example, you'd want to give that many months to see if it takes off. And it's the same for adding on extra hours or removing hours. You won't really know if your schedule is panning out and if people are paying attention to it until you give it that several months buffer, 3 to 6 months. So if you are thinking about opening up night floats, even just a couple days a week, definitely consider doing that as a long-term experiment, not as something you just try for a couple weeks and then give up on.
Mm-hmm.
Any other difficulties that we've had? What are our busiest nights out of the year?
Our busiest,
or out of the week, I mean.
Friday and Saturday night. From last I checked, are definitely like noticeably kind of busier than other ones. I will also say, so we do 2 night shift, or 2 kind of what we call night appointments. Like, one starts at 11 p.m. and one starts at 2 a.m. And the 11 p.m. one is really not that hard to book at all. Like, that one's pretty full very often. Like, 11 p.m. seems decently booked and not that significantly different than a 9 p.m. spot or things like that. So it's really once you start getting into the extremes, like 2 in the morning, that you'll notice a difference in kind of how much people are booking.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's another thing. Being a late night shop does not mean you also have to be open 24 hours and be total madmen like we are. You can definitely run until 1, 2 in the morning. And again, we're able to do that actually without much trouble. So that's definitely one of the more surprising things that's come out of doing this is how late people are willing to float, even if it's not those 2 a.m. ones. The fact that 11 p.m. fills up, that was shocking to me. I didn't expect so many people to come in at 11.
Yeah.
All right. There you have it. The float gospel as told by Graham and Ashkan. So have a wonderful day over there, all you listeners, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
And of course, if you have any questions you want us to answer, you can just hop over to floattanksolutions.com/podcast. We will talk to you soon.
See you then.